Hey guys, it's Chris, and welcome to Toned and Toneful, the self-actualization video series, episode number 70. Stumble forward, stay confused. So in this week's episode, guys, I want to talk about the idea about staying still and why that could be hurting us. And when I say staying still, that could be multiple different facets of our life. It could be staying still in our finances, it could be staying still in our artistic endeavors, or it could be staying still physically. These are all things that can bring us back in life because everything is perpetuated by momentum and motion. And though it seems hard that always doing something new and not being the best at it would be not a good idea, like it seems like it would be a better idea to make a formula and live by it, that actually puts us in a very precarious situation to be able to think outside the box. And it also puts us in a sense of control, but that control isn't something that really is as surmounting as we think. It is not as, enveloping as we think. We end up in a position that we are actually losing control. So one of the first things I want to think about when I'm saying, stumble forward, stay confused, is when we are at a point that we are finally starting to get a little bit of grounding with something. Maybe our finances are finally picking up to a place that we like. Maybe our followers on our social media is finally picking up because we're making a certain type of post. We're hitting that algorithm. We're hitting that formula. We're saving a certain amount every paycheck and feeling very solid about it. So much so that it feels like to break this formula would actually put us in a deficit. We need to understand that just because we're growing something doesn't mean that we're growing ourselves. We can be growing socially or financially, but internally, many people end up being the same person with just different surroundings. And this is something that is very, very troublesome because when we reach a place that we are tested, and life is full of very interesting tests, whether you believe that's the universe testing you or you believe that there's a creator that's testing you, you will go through certain periods that all the money you saved will go to something very unexpected. All the gains that you made on social media could be changed just by a different social media coming out. It could happen by what you were doing at one point that seemed really good. Everyone gets tired of and they move on to the next thing. And that is something that we all really need to be careful of if we don't grow ourselves as we grow the situation around us. And when it comes to growing ourselves, a lot of people feel stuck because that kind of work is the hardest work to start and the hardest work to continue for many reasons. And it could be very daunting to say, hey, I need to find out internally who I am a little bit more. I need to figure out these patterns that while I might have financial control at the minute, why do I not feel control unless I have financial control? Why do I not feel like that I'm in control if I don't get more social status or I don't have the ability to be above other people and feel as though that I have a little more standing ground than the person I'm speaking to? There are so many individuals that I know who are really great people underneath it all, but their social followings that they have a certain amount of followers, and they truly believe they're better than other people. They have more financial status than somebody, and they truly believe they're a better person. But funny enough, if you come to know them, you realize that any little bit of that control that they lose, they start to almost crumble right before your eyes. And you realize that that internal growth and that personal self-understanding isn't there. And the only thing that has kept them in a place that they feel good about what's going on in their life is that they have this certain amount of control that they feel they can exercise at any moment in their social group or, again, around other people. If you're a rich person and you think I can buy this and this person can't, I can flex this certain item and this person can't. That's why a lot of people are starting, I feel, to almost turn away from the influencers that are online, starting to turn more to people that they can relate with and see the story of. And I think that this is a very great thing. The story of a person matters so much. And it's part of why we need to understand that the patterns that we're living out is part of our story, but these patterns that we live every day is part of the reason that we feel that we need to live in a certain formula. that we feel that once we achieve a certain level of forward momentum, why everything must be kept the same, almost to the point that we almost feel incomplete if we don't see growth every day. We feel incomplete if we don't see financial gain every single paycheck. But what's really hiding underneath that? What's hiding underneath the desire to be so in control of these few aspects? And that's the pattern. The internal person inside actually feels a very small level of control. And through these exercises that they've done, whether that's the formulaic way of, again, saving a paycheck, the formulaic way of posting online, maybe writing a song in a certain way that it's catchy every single time, the way that the song is put together, using a certain set of colors that are popular at a certain time in a painting, or using a certain format of painting. These are all ways that we can kind of create control, because we see that maybe we design something and we stick with that, and we only do that. And we only do that because it brings success. And I see a lot of people actually stagnate their true creativity, stagnate their a real ability to grow the self inside, and stagnate all those things being so pattern-based, kind of not really understanding that what they're really looking for is to confront the emotion of not being able to have control. And when we confront our internal pattern, there's a lesson to be learned from everybody's pattern. There are times where people, when they move forward, they feel that they're not doing as good of a job. They notice the next post got 1/10 of the likes, 1/4 of the likes. And they go, I don't want to do that again. I don't know. I'm scared to not get 5,000 likes every time. This one only got 600. But when you made the new post, before you put it up, you had fun, you felt a change in yourself, and there was something about you that maybe that new thing aligned with you a little bit more in the current time than the formulaic pattern that you've been using. Even more so, I see a lot of artists who are musicians who they want to move on to a new category of music. They want to move on to this next level that they've been kind of waiting for. Maybe they've been developing a certain skill in silence. Maybe they've been working on a new overall sound. And then they put out that new song and they go, oh, I didn't get any of near the listens as I got on my last 10. And my last 10 were all done from a very similar formulaic standpoint. The chorus is by this point. The hook is like this. The melodies were so crafted that, yes, while they are very dialed in, you've now dialed that in 10 times and you're becoming a different person. You don't want to wear the same outfit every day. Most people don't. I'm not saying there's no one who does, but most people do want to grow. There's a nature inside of us as human beings that likes to move on to new things and likes to try new things. And this in itself is the main pattern that I'm trying to help people see in this episode, is that when we are trying to move forward and we see that we are not stumbling at all, we are just trying to move forward and we think that everything keeps going perfect, that's actually not moving forward. When we move forward, we're going to stumble. If you had to go up 1,000 stairs and you walked up the stairs, you're going to tip your toe on a couple of those stairs. There's no way that as you ascend that high and take that many stairs to be higher than where you were once, you're on the 100th floor versus the first floor. That's going to require some pain, some stumbling, and some confusion. Maybe there's points where you're like, how many more stairs are there? How much longer do I have to the path to get where I'm trying to go? But that's not the thing that we should be fearing. The thing that we should be fearing is the idea that we are scared to grow, that we are scared to step out of that verbatim and do something different, that we are looking for validation and we are looking for appreciation from people. And a validation and social acceptance are really the cheap version of true love. True love and validation are very different things. When you truly love something, you can do it with no mindset to why you would go to the lengths you are to do it. It's not to say that you would risk your life every single day for it. But the way that you approach love is very much through a holistic and pure sense. And the way that you do things when you love them is in a whole sense. Your parents, while they did do a lot of good things for you, probably didn't get accolades from the 5-year-old version of yourself. Maybe didn't get a thank you from the 5-year-old kid who just got a new action figure or a new doll. Maybe that parent when you're 2 years old is never going to get a thank you from a child who's getting fed every single day without the knowledge of realizing that there was money involved in that, time involved in that, and even unknown situations. One day your kid's choking on a pea and you're like so worried about them. And then the next day they're eating just fine and they have an allergic reaction suddenly. And as a parent, you're going through all those things. But that pureness of love that comes from a parent to a child is no different than the love that we put to ourselves when we're not afraid to grow. When we want to grow, we want to take into the mindset that the pattern that we're living to achieve the success that we think we need to have. When we are so attached to results and admiration and accolades, you can't have real love because real love exists above that. And when we put ourselves in a place where this is what we're trying to accept, when this is where we want to be, you can never climb the ladder to here because you're not willing to stumble. You're not willing to be confused, to understand that this is where you want to be and this is what you keep aiming for. You keep getting this. And what accolades do and what affirmations do, they'll never do what love does. Love fulfills. Love is holistic in its entire sense. And as we try to keep approaching this from a place that we're just worrying about, did my friend say this was cool? If you're playing a guitar part and you wonder, does the greatest guitar player in the world think what I'm playing is great? That's a very poor mindset to be in. To impress other people, to be in a place where you are not doing what you need for yourself is a very, very scary place to be. That is more scary than not having control. Because in the sense that you're willing to stumble forward, you're willing to be confused in learning things and finding things out and finding new places in life to find new patterns that align more with you, that bring you internally to the lessons that you were meant to learn. Your storytelling will grow. The elements that really bring you to be a better person are waiting right there inside you. They're not far away at all. It isn't about a certain amount of money you're going to get. It isn't about a certain song you're going to write. But the process of writing that song, the journey to getting to those finances, and what you learn in that place in between, that middle, that is going to be the thing that is going to teach you the real lesson. That's the real pattern. That's the real story, is what you're doing in between. And when you're trapped at the point of just seeing that end result like a pyramid in the distance and you're in the desert just looking to it going, how am I going to get there? You're not realizing that every step of the way you're building the story, and your mentality of maybe not having water, not having this, not having that. That's all part of it. That suffering, that growth, that confusion, that new life that is breathed into you when you are trying to do something different and not live by a status quo. And that's why, these last 2 episodes, it's hard to be mid. And this one right here are so focused on that part of the journey, because when we focus on the journey, the results really do become a reward. Those affirmations we get, they're just reflections of what other people think of our story. They're not our story. Our story is within. And you can tell that story and everyone's going to give you a variation on what they think of it. But your goal is to actually live that story and behold that inside you, to be able to align with the patterns that are actually healing you and bringing you a sense of actual, real self-actualization, that you will not live in a world where the accolades, the affirmations, the compliments, that they matter so much that that's what you do it for. Because really, at the end of the day, those opinions end up being hollow. When those people are gone, yeah, they left some words for you. But those words really turn into nothing when you really start going back to your story and you start living it. You go, it was really nice to have heard that, but I got to do these other things, and these are these new ideas I'm thinking. And the people who evolve with you and the people who want to come with you, they are part of that chapter. They are part of that season, that story, or maybe they're lifelong. They're part of that pattern the rest of all the time because you guys are aligned on that. But that's what I wanted to convey in this episode. This is episode number 70. Stumble forward, stay confused. And as always, I'm really happy to share with you guys. This episode of Toned and Toneful has been very inspiring to me because it had me thinking a lot about what I'm hoping to do with this new song that I have all finished up and what I wanted to feel like when I put it out and what I thought that the story was to me and where the growth was in it and how I'm just happy to share it. And so when you guys go through your next week, I hope that you do stumble a little bit. And I hope that a couple moments are confusing and you take those moments to reflect on yourself and see what the lessons are that are coming from approaching those feelings and approaching those results that are coming and going, what does that actually mean to me? What does that do to my pattern and how do I feel about it? And so I want to thank you guys once again. And above all else, stay toned and toneful.